Alrighty. All right. I'm experiencing a bit of an echo. I don't know if it's coming from you or...
That would be weird. Give me a second.
No problem. Testing 1 2. It's still there. I can live with it.
So, let me see if I can at least start talking.
I wonder if it... Yeah, testing. Okay, there. Now it's working. Now we're good. Can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Oh, of course.
All right. So a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're here. We're live. Welcome, everyone, to the Work in Progress After Dark podcast. And today I'm joined by my good friend, Jeremiah from Dude, Let's Chat. Jeremiah, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me here. It's going to be really fun. Yeah, sorry the other two couldn't make it, but they're too busy working and being family people. You know, those things that we're supposed to be, apparently.
Right. It's all good. I totally respect that. Okay. So a little bit of quick announcements for whoever's watching now or in the future. In upcoming shows, I'm going to be dedicating at least 15 minutes to a half an hour to talk about anime recaps for the upcoming anime seasons. We've got the first one on the docket will be Call of the Night when that begins airing in July. After that, I will also be doing recaps for Chainsaw Man and, of course, the big season of My Hero Academia, which is scheduled to release this fall. So my Work in Progress podcast will feature some anime recaps for those shows when they start airing, and any other shows that I might be watching at the time. So the purpose of tonight's show is to talk about video game release dates, video game release date delays, and why it happens and why it happens so frequently, and what prompted me to kind of do this. As per the thumbnail of this is God of War Ragnarok. So we're gonna bring this up and we're gonna look at this article. Got an article here from IGN. We're gonna take a look at this. We're gonna read over it, and we will get each other's thoughts. All right. Now, this isn't about a delay per se, but what this article suggests is that we are still on track for a 2020 release date for God of War, based off of in what I consider to be circumstantial evidence at best when it comes to release. So this was written by Ryan Dinsdale. Got to give him credit over at IGN. God of War Ragnarok has received a rating in South Korea suggesting the game is on track for its 2020 release date, as spotted by Reset Era user Modes. Ragnarok is rated as an 18 and over game, which means that it'll be rated M here in the United States. South Korea's game rating and admission committee, by South Korea's game rating and administration committee, and a game being rated usually signifies that a relatively complete version has been presented and therefore isn't too far from being released. While developer Sony Santa Monica has reassured fans recently that the long-awaited sequel of God of War 2018 will be released this year, there also has been reason to be a little skeptical, which I am of that party. I am of the skeptical party. I don't believe that it will be this year, and we will go into that a little bit more. 2022 has proved to be a particular nasty year for game delays, as the impact of COVID-19 still echoes throughout the industry. 29 games have been affected by delays this year so far, headlined by the recent shift of Bethesda's Redfall and Starfield into next year. I was not surprised by those delays based off some information that we got about a month ago. And if you're unfamiliar with that, I will definitely go over that with you. Ragnarok itself has technically been delayed before. And is just one of many PlayStation Studio titles that have been pushed back. Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, Returnal, and Ghost of Tsushima were all delayed by Sony in the past 2 years. Originally due in 2021, God of War Ragnarok was pushed back to ensure Santa Monica Studio could deliver an amazing game that we all want to play. Protagonist Kratos' voice actor later revealed that he was part of the reason for Ragnarok's delay, however, saying that he had to undergo physical therapy, therefore several operations in 2019, and therefore couldn't work. Okay, let's discuss. Okay, so um to me, this means absolutely nothing in regards to a potential delay for God of War Ragnarok. Now, I am of the ilk that it is going to get delayed. All we've seen in the past couple of years are a couple of cinematic trailers. We have seen zero gameplay footage of God of War. We have seen zero gameplay footage, and we are now a week away from the year being halfway over. Well, I guess technically it wouldn't be halfway over until the end of June. But we have seen nothing.
We're on the way. We're almost there. Like
Yeah,
we're towards
almost
the end of the second quarter.
Yeah,
exactly.
And there's no in my opinion, there's no reason to believe that we're getting a 2022 release date. If we are getting a 2022 release date, it's gonna be maybe December. It's gonna be late.
I'm about to say November, December, around Christmas time when they're gonna get their highest buyout.
Yeah.
So
what are your so in general, what are your thoughts on the whole concept of like video games and them and like the idea of them getting delayed so frequently?
So it actually took a lot of reaching out and talking to some friends of mine. Some, of course, they're just the avid, news followers. Like they listen to everything that's happening with the developers. To some of my friends who are actually they design games, they develop games. One in particular that works for Epic, for instance, and then another one though that deals in production, like the chips and stuff that go into these. Specifically, yeah, and he's really, and I'm going to take it from him actually, where he was like, the delays happen on all fronts for all things, Chip production was one of the hardest things to do in 2020, 2021, and I mean we saw that the repercussions of that in 2021, where like no one could even buy like basic computer parts, everything was being bought by scalpers, but they also couldn't meet the demand for it once the flop of the new gen consoles, like not being able to be produced as readily as people were wanting it to, That being said, if you would have caught me before 2020, 2021, I would have told you, you have all this time, you have all the money, you should make it happen, If you would have caught me before Cyberpunk 2077, even before that, even before COVID, if you would have caught me before No Man's Sky, I would have totally been like, yeah, come on now. If you're talking about it for so long, just make it happen, right?
Sure.
But because of No Man's Sky, I'm actually going to pull it into this. Because No Man's Sky will say, take as much time as you need on God of War Ragnarok. Take as much time as you need, because like you said, you brought up the one of the biggest flaws about No Man's Sky when it was coming out. We saw no real gameplay trailer, just a few little shots of him on a planet, not really doing much, mining once, but then all of a sudden we're being promised all of these just out of the world, honestly, like in hindsight, unrealistic expectations that both they as the developer and us as the gamer, as the consumer, put into it. I want this game to stay. I don't want this game to fall. Honestly, agreed. God of War was fantastic. 10 out of 10. It was a magnum opus, honestly. Making Ragnarok, I've been skeptical on that. Like, oh, dude, don't. I know you left it open for that, but you could have also ended it right there, and everybody would have been totally fine. Honestly, the game was still great. The game is amazing, and you don't have to ruin this. That being said, if they need more time, let it happen.
Yeah.
Let it happen. So
when I'm talking to some of my friends on Instagram, I think a lot of people view me as being a negative Nancy, and it's not necessarily being negative. It's just kind of like I guess there's a healthy level of cynicism and skepticism when it comes to this kind of thing, and so it's not that I want it to be delayed. I don't want it to be delayed. I would love to see God of War. I would love to see God of War Ragnarok yesterday, but so here's the thing. Like you said, give the game as much time as it needs. But the truth of the matter is, I've been following like, okay, I know this might sound kind of pretentious, but like I've been regularly following the video game like industry for the better part of 10 years. Like, at the beginning of those 10 years, I was a super optimistic person. I was like, I believed everything that they told me. I believed that everything that everyone ever told me. And then over the course of the years, I started noticing patterns. I started noticing patterns. People, developers, they would announce a game. I guess the first time I saw this really happen was probably with Mass Effect 3, like a big time, really saw it happen. They announced Mass Effect 3. And it didn't get, from the moment that it was announced, and we actually saw kind of like a cinematic trailer. We didn't see it for 3 years. Now, I understand that like announcements don't ever guarantee a game to be released anytime soon, but what's the point? What's the point of announcing it when when there really isn't much to like really offer? I know it's to draw in hype, and I know that it's probably to draw into like pre-orders, but still, it's obnoxious. So we didn't see Mass Effect 3 for 3 years, and then of course the biggest offender in recent years, Cyberpunk 2077, that was announced back in 2012. Okay, it didn't. I mean,
really Kingdom Hearts 3 too. Like, I mean, if we're going to be calling out people who literally tempted you, like new Kingdom Hearts game. Oh, what is it, Bird?
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 Kingdom Hearts was announced to be in early development 6 years, I believe 6 years before it was released, give or take.
So I think the worst offender, would it be the worst, was Duke Nukem Forever?
Duke Nukem, well, I guess, or we can argue that Final Fantasy 15 as well.
No, well, see, Duke Nukem Forever, there's actually a story to that, but to keep it short, you could order the pre-order sometime before 2010, I believe, 2008 or something like that, because they talked about it, right? And it didn't get released until like 2018, but you never heard it. You just thought it was dead. And then suddenly, anyone who bought the deluxe stuff from like back in the day, I'd have to look at the dates. A friend of mine, though, when he heard that Duke Nukem Forever, like the newest one that released, was coming out, he flipped out because he actually paid for the one with the busts and stuff like that a long time ago.
Oh, no.
And then they just kind of assumed it's like, okay, well, was it canceled? But they never came out and gave it was canceled. It's he's a good friend of mine, and so his thing when it came out, he started laughing at every person who made fun of him, myself included. Like, bro, why are you? I'm just saying, like, there are people who are bad offenders that keep pushing it back. But would you agree with me that it just kind of depends on the content, the story base, versus what you're getting? For instance, like Duke Nukem Forever taking like 10 plus years. I mean, it's a Duke Nukem game. It's literally just raunchy.
That shouldn't take 10 years.
No. But Cyberpunk, I can understand that taking a lot of time because you're trying to do a lot all at once. And so I don't jump on them near as much. If anything, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Okay. I kept interrupting you. So here's the thing about Cyberpunk, though, and this is the reason why it's frustrating. So Cyberpunk was announced in 2012. You didn't hear anything about it for the longest time, like ever. Like all you had was that awesome cinematic trailer, which I still think is to this day, it's still a great looking trailer. Do you know which one I'm talking about? When it first, yeah. So, but the thing is, it was in like, I honestly think that when people say that a game is in early development, I think that like they're just kind of like they bring it up on occasion. So basically, like, here's what happened. Like, that game didn't go into full production until after The Witcher 3. I honestly think that it, like, maybe there was some artwork probably being tossed around for the 5 years between the announcement and between after The Witcher 3, and then the game didn't go into full development until after The Witcher 3, and then they started like giving us little bits and pieces. They gave us like I think some concept art, and then they actually showed us some gameplay footage, and then now, to give it some credit, it did get delayed due to COVID-19, and like honestly, like. That's understandable. I get that, but the truth of the matter,
it's the boy who cried wolf, though, right there, isn't it? Like, y'all kept delaying for so long that when an actual reason to be delayed, you can't blame your fans and your followers for not necessarily being as Like, well, that shouldn't matter. You should be 99% done with this game.
Yeah,
This delay should only
sure.
put it back by a couple months. Sorry, go ahead. But
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm absolutely agreeing with you. And like, I know this isn't quite super in the topic of like video game delays. Like after all those delays and after all those development years, we got this game that was, I guess, what you consider is to be a disappointment. Now, I enjoy Cyberpunk 2077. I think it's actually a pretty decent game. It plays well on the PlayStation 5. I think it should have been a launch title or a next gen launch title, more or less. They should have pushed it back. They should have made they should have. I guess technically it could have been. It was released after the PlayStation 5 was. But the thing is, they built it in a way to have it presented, to be able to be presented on the PlayStation 4 in the Xbox series. In the Xbox,
but it's not just it's not such a presentation, it's the timeline. Like, we didn't even know the concept of the Xbox Series or the PS5 in 2012, where we were still playing PS3s. Yeah,
exactly.
Like there's no way. Like, for it to be pushed back like this, it's because of what you let. It's because, like you said, you brought up this early development. I've always seen early development nowadays as kind of like you're at a party talking about that book you mean to write, not to pull from Family Guy, but like you have a concept and you're tossing it out to a group of pretty devout people that I say devout, like people you trust, but people that like you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they threw it out to the fans, like, Cyberpunk 2077, we're thinking of lasers and a machine, genitalia, let's do it. And everyone jumped on board. It's like, oh crap. We almost, like, if they wouldn't have skipped that part of everything for Anthem, maybe we've gotten a better game. But I do agree with it to a point.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought, but I do have.
So I do agree with that point, but I guess I would answer, and this can get extensive, so I'm just going to say I have an answer for you. Why did they throw it out so early? And it's Gears of War 3 and Bulletstorm, but we'll continue after you say your point.
Okay, so I do, off topic a little bit, I do got to say something about Anthem. I think Anthem is a great concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Anthem is
it's a fantastic game. Honestly, when you first play it, there is this runner's high you get. Like, I played it for the first time, because I didn't get it when it launched. I was like, I haven't even heard about this, and for what I heard about the development of this, it's going to be a crap show. Mm-hmm. And it kind of was. So it became free on Game Pass, I think, like 8-9 months ago. And so I was like, okay, it's here. I might as well try it. Bro, I couldn't put it down. I was like, this is so freaking fun. This is reminding me of Zone of the Enders. Just, you're in mechs, you're flying around super fast. Yeah, dude, I thought it was great.
Anthem, Anthem doesn't get enough credit for its its concept. It, like, you're flying around, it's probably the best Iron Man game out there, more or less. But
that's a good way to consider. Yeah. Like,
but the truth of the matter is it is a stereotypical hackneyed just sort of this looter shooter with like really no substance. And that's kind of the big issue with Anthem, is that it lacks any real substance.
I played it for a month or two, but I dropped it because I was like, okay, this is cool and all, but all the missions are kind of running over each other. There's this BBEG classic vanilla D&D tabletop villain that's wanting to do his own thing and take out, and we're just a bunch of rebels, and you're trying, and I was like, cool. But most of every other mission was about the same, when you jump into, and I was like, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, sorry, I don't mean it. No. So basically, now back to like the video game delays and stuff. So there was, but yeah, so as I was saying, like, I've kind of been following patterns, and it sort of made me cynical and skeptical to like release dates. So for example, now I do wholeheartedly believe that Spider-Man 2 will release in 2023. I do believe that Insomniac has maintained a solid pattern of of consistent release dates. Now, they might delay once, maybe, but only for a couple of months, and then you're good. So I do believe that Spider-Man Spider-Man 2 will be released on time. I kind of hope though that it's more like, I hope that it's winter 2023. Give it as much time as possible. But like, you know, I knew that Starfield was going to get delayed. I honestly
There's
knew
too
that
much. There's
yeah,
too much in one game for you to tell me that if that would have came out on time, that goes in the category of No Man's Sky. And I'm
yeah,
not trying to just sit here and bash all over that. I understand they made changes. I still feel like we got a slap in the face with that. And so at this point, when things get delayed, I just expect it. I'll just say
oh
like
yeah,
I expect it, and it better happen. And my thing is, once you delay it, I expect a really good turnout. I'm talking
yeah,
70%, baby. That's at least passing, not
yeah,
50. Like this better be pretty much met my expectation, exceeded maybe a couple of areas, but met my expectation everywhere else across the board. And if you have a major flaw, it better be like outweighed by a fantastic like feature or story development or something.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm always waiting for you to end your thought. You don't have to. You're good. Everything's good.
I'm trying to work on. We've done this a couple times for everybody watching, and then like sometimes I'll get to rambling, he'll get to rambling, Isaac gets
Yeah.
to rambling, and so I'm trying to remind myself, hey, I'm not the star of the show this time.
No,
So
we both are. But the good thing though about the Bethesda is that their games generally are quality over quantity. Okay.
mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, there's, you can argue that Fallout 4 is not as good as Fallout 3 and not as good as Skyrim. That's fine. I don't
That's
care.
not
But
fair. That's none of that is fair. We can talk about that all day on another topic. Why I
yeah,
feel like that's unfair, but
I know, but so that's sort of the general consensus. I don't
it
necessarily
is.
agree with it. I enjoyed Fallout 4. I really did. I think, it's a good Fallout game. Um, uh, but it certainly wasn't. I don't think that it was quite on par as like the problem is Skyrim just kind of overshadows everything, and so everything's compared to it. But I digress. But so honestly, like I'm okay. I'm okay with Starfield getting delayed. I really truly am. Of course, that now I don't know if you heard about this, but about a month ago, there was a former Bethesda employee anonymously did an interview with Jason Schreier. I think he used to work. Jason Schreier used to work, I think, for Kotaku, and now he works for like something like somewhere else. And he basically stated, maybe he didn't do an interview, and I think Jason just simply like confirmed that this guy is legitimate. Maybe he didn't do an interview, but basically what this guy said was, I worked on Starfield. It's not ready. It's too big. If they want to release it on time without any problems, they're going to have to trim some fat. And that's what he said. He basically said their goal right now is to look for the fun. Now honestly, that is a scary phrase to me. Looking for the fun. That means that the fun isn't quite there yet. Which is like a scary concept. But like,
I don't know. I think I kind of took when you first said that. It makes me think that, like you say, yes, trim some fat, is that they have all these concepts of what they think is going to be amazing. They put too much into one game and it's too big. So I'm an optimist, even throughout my years of following. You said you're the cynic, and to be honest, you're going to get that way. Anybody who follows the gaming industry and actually like does care about it, you're going to get cynical. I've just come back to the ideal side of it, and the reason why is because I just want to have a good time,
me too.
and
I do
so
too. Like,
I'm going to give y'all the benefit of the doubt. I understand y'all make multi-billions and y'all could be lying through your teeth. That will come out in your release. That will come out in your game. That will come out in your product. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. It's again after No Man's Sky, after Cyberpunk 2077, y'all take all the time you need. I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Just make it good,
yeah.
But
yeah. But yeah, but yeah, on the level of like on the level for God of War though, like it's concerning. Like everyone is like, come on, give it to us in 2022, and like, are you sure about that? Are you sure you want us to have it in 2022? Because like the thing is, we have not seen gameplay. We have seen gameplay for Kingdom Hearts 4. but we have not seen
That's
gameplay.
that's not fair. Did we see? Was it gameplay? Maybe there was a little bit of it.
There was a little bit of gameplay.
Just a
Now
little bit.
but we have not seen any gameplay. We have not seen any real gameplay for God of War Ragnarok. To me,
now one could argue that most of God of War was a cinematic masterpiece. If you would have taken out the game portions of it and just let it run like a I think everything in it was still like an hour long for the cinematic sequences, and I believe. I think I made that comment when I first was like kind of watching someone. I was like, yeah, I would totally watch this. Like, this is dope, you know? Like, so my thing is, although we're not seeing gameplay, honestly, as long as they don't like completely diverge from what they just did in God of War, I mean, I'm pretty sure people would be okay with just the same gameplay, honestly, you know?
Sure.
As long as yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay, on that topic, I am a true believer of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When Borderlands 3 was released, a lot of people criticized it as being the same gameplay, but honestly, for me, that gameplay works for Borderlands. I'm playing Tiny Tina Wonderlands. It's the same exact stuff. It's the same exact thing, and it is a blast. Okay. Secret's out right now. It's my game of the year, and it's gonna be really hard to top because it is just true fun gaming. It's just like, this is, to me, it's about like entertainment value, right? Like, it's not necessarily about the quality of the experience, but like, I guess you could say I'm having a quality experience because I'm full on entertained by the game. But like, one can argue that it isn't the best game in the world, and okay, I can understand that, but like,
it wasn't. Are you talking about Tiny Tina's Wonderland, or are you talking about Borderlands 3?
I'm talking both.
Oh, that one.
Honestly,
okay,
both.
So for Borderlands 3, I can kind of understand your people's argument to a point, but like you said, it's like, but if it works, you know, like growing up in the Halo and Gears of War era, a lot of people were upset when Gears of War 3 came out, and suddenly we're this fast pace, take less damage, one shot kills. Like, we're trying to be too much like Call of Duty, and then Halo. Like, what happens? We had to go all the way back to Infinite to kind of go back to the roots of Halo in terms of gameplay with some changes. But it went back to some original points because that's all people want. There's nothing wrong with that. And Tiny Tina's Wonderland, like, nobody ever complained about that. That was supposed to be a joke game to begin with. That is literally just a filler to get a little more money from a franchise that took a lot of people's focus onto it. And let me tell you, so far everything I've seen for that is hilarious, to the point where I stopped watching videos. Like, okay, I've got to play this. Dude, I don't know what it is about this storytelling.
You should get it. It's full crossplay.
Oh my gosh, dude! I'll grab it.
It's full crossplay. We play through their shift system. You basically have to create a shift account, and then we could play together. So like, whatever system you're playing it on, I could play it with you on my PlayStation 5. But anyways, yeah. So oh man, we got kind of off topic, but who cares? Come
back to God of War. Like, God of War and yeah.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I keep telling people it's going to get delayed, but it's not from an aspect of being like a cynical person and being negative and wanting it to get delayed. In a way, I do want it to get delayed, but like from a positive angle of, hey, getting it delayed means that it's going to be a more polished gameplay experience, and it's going to be the game that we all want. Okay? You know, if we force, I honestly believe that Cyberpunk 2077 was a forced release because of fan outcry. There's to some degree, because people kept getting mad that it kept getting delayed. But that game should have been delayed another year.
At least, and I say at least just because, I mean, from what I understand, we still don't have the multiplayer that was also promised in a year's time. Like, whenever it released, and multiplayer should be coming in the first basic forms of it within the next year. It's like, okay, cool, that didn't happen. I agree with you. They should have pushed it back, and I also agree with you on the God of War. I don't hope it gets delayed. I think it's more from a logical standpoint. It kind of has to. There's no way. We have big developers and small developers all delaying, which means there's something across the board that's causing this, you know?
Sure.
So logically, you have to accept that.
So I actually made, I was talking with some friends and I actually came up with what I think is going on and the reason why they haven't shown anything yet. They are trying to get that game to be playable on a day one PS4 and they're having problems with it. That is what I think. Okay. Because of the PlayStation 5 shortage, Sony and Sony Santa Monica announced that God of War Ragnarok would be playable on the PlayStation 4, meaning that means that they have to make it playable on technology that is. I think that's just.
See, you started talking about God of War. You pulling out the conspiracy, and who's at the door? Who's at the door right now, huh?
I think so. So here's the thing: like my windows are open, and I live under the same roof as like it's myself. My mom lives in the basement. She's not here. She's back in California, but my sister lives up in the main house and we all have our windows open because out here in Kentucky, it's hot and humid. Okay.
Gotcha.
And I honestly think that I've been hearing stuff, but I think it's coming from my window, and from the open window up in my sister's house. So I think it's my nephew crying.
I think he just got caught talking some crap.
I know.
And
like, oh God.
And Sony was like, we got to cut the stream now. But send the assassins.
But as I was saying, a day one PlayStation 4, that is, let's see, it's 2022, came out in 2013? It's 9 years old. Was it 2013? Okay, that technology is now 9 years old. Okay, that technology, and that was an issue that I think that Cyberpunk was happening, right? So Cyberpunk could hardly be, played on a PlayStation 4 Pro, let alone a day one PlayStation 4. But
that's unfair. That's unfair. Cyberpunk does not get that. Cyberpunk started releasing stuff about this in 2012. Cyberpunk kept the hype train going with little hints and stuff here and there, where they didn't actually show any production gameplay or trailers and stuff. They still hinted to things they were doing. They got the hype train going with different other releases, but while still hinting towards 2077. The fact that it did not run well on a system that technically post dates their initial statements of working, their announcement, that makes no sense to me. And by that point, computers back in 2012 and 2013 could not run this game, because if your computer wasn't of a certain degree, and I forgot the year where it's like this would be what you could run on low settings, but I think it was 2017 or 2018 computers could run Cyberpunk 2077 when it released. And it's that means that if I had the same computer, Lord, forbid, if I had the same desktop setup from 2013, let's say 2013, when everything released, I still wouldn't be able to play the game. That's not fair. I'm not giving that to them, but I will agree with, because we had that a little bit of a discussion on this.
Yeah, we did.
We're do agree with trying to make it compatible. There are certain games that probably should stay to the next gen, and God of War is definitely one of them, because aesthetically is a beautiful game. I want that thing to run flawless, and if it's not, PS5 really is still going to get the same treatment that the PlayStations before had, even though it runs just the same as Xbox. They proved this with Arkham Knight. Xbox and PlayStation had the same aesthetically looking game, right? Sure. But before that, and even after that, people still see the Sony PlayStation is the aesthetics. You are playing a game so it looks good. Yeah. You want I will play Gang Beasts on Xbox. That is the most basic of stupid little fighter. There's it's not graphically intensive at all. And then, but if I go on my PlayStation, I'm playing Persona 5. I'm playing Final Fantasy 15. That's on every console. I'm playing Kingdom Hearts because I want to look the best it can.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, I do agree with God of War being exclusive. This needs to be next gen. If you want it to have the best release possible, you just need to press your fans. And nowadays, it is easier to get a PS5 and an Xbox Series X. Yeah, I can go onto the Microsoft Store right now and get an Xbox Series X and add to my door in 3 days.
Now the only issue there is that God of War is a PlayStation exclusive.
Well, I'm using Xbox reference because that one at one point was harder to get, and it's that.
So,
I mean, it is what it is.
I think when people say that oh no, they're not available. They're not available. Okay, honestly, that's bullshit. Okay, I'm keeping this PG-13. It's bullcrap. Okay, I mean, you have to go a few extra steps to do it. But here's the thing:
Mm-hmm.
if I could get a day one PlayStation 5, you can get a PlayStation 5 now.
That's fair.
The key
That's fair.
is you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention and follow the patterns of when the online stores are going to drop it. For example, today, Amazon had a PlayStation 5 drop. Now, I'm not paying attention to it anymore because I have one. But like, if you follow the right people, Wario 64 on Twitter, okay, this isn't like
Matt
some weird
Swider. Matt Swider on Twitter, Wario64, and there's someone else, and then of course the Xbox and Sony. There's just they have their own thing to tell you when it's going to drop.
Yeah.
But there are 5 accounts that, and I can't remember the last guy, but he's the one. It's like Jason, I think. He's the one who actually helped me get one from my brother. It took me 2 weeks. It took me 2. I agree with you. It's like you're going to have to play the game a bit. You are going against computers and scalpers and stuff.
Yeah.
But dude, it can happen, and it will happen if you're persistent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sucks that you have to go a few extra steps, but you can get it. You just have to pay attention. Now,
even better, go ahead.
I actually have a solution. I actually have a solution, and I highly doubt
WIP is going to buy every listener a PS5. WIP, what a good guy. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I have a solution to this problem. Okay, you want to know how you stop online scalpers from getting them? Stop selling them exclusive online. You put them in your stores. Okay, put them in your stores. Maybe even have the stock in the back. Just put a sign out and say, "Hey, PlayStation 5s are in stock. Go talk to somebody."
Target did it the best. I will not a sponsor, obviously. Target did it the best. Target would put their online stock for it, but it was only based on the target around you.
Yeah, that's
so
how
my thing is, I can jump on and be like, okay, well, I want this Xbox. Well, it's in my target. They're going to get my information. I've got to bring my ID to show it.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, dude, like that was the smartest thing. I didn't see anybody else doing that. It's like that's kind of weird.
And that's how I got mine. That's how I did it through a Target. And
Respect,
that was an intense night. That was an intense night. I did not believe that I had the system until it was in my hand and I was walking out of the store with it.
So I know we just talked about Dr. Stone, and I'm only bringing this up for this moment. I'm almost guaranteeing you that you may have, at least to yourself, done the Taiju scream, because I found myself when I'm really excited on things. Like I realized, and I was like, "Wait, no, is that just like Taiju's energy is for like any occasion of just complete success? Just
So I'll tell you the story real quick. Basically, what happened was that was a really trying week. Just kind of a little bit of backstory. That was the beginning of that week. Was sort of the beginning of the end for my grandpa. Basically what had happened was a few days prior to the release of the PlayStation 5, my grandpa had an accident and he fell down and he couldn't get himself back up. So my mom and I, we actually left. So where we lived in California was about 4.5 to 5 hours away from my grandparents' house. We got this notification that this happened at like 10 o'clock at like 9:30 at night. And my mom and I, we made this split decision to like travel that night to go down there. So we spent 5 hours in the car. We didn't get there until like 5 o'clock in the morning. We were both falling asleep at the wheel. It was, and we get there and immediately like I get maybe 4 hours of sleep, maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And like the moment that we wake up, it's go time. We're taking care of everything around the house, all this stuff. And I'm at my grandpa's for a couple of days. And each night I'm not sleeping particularly well because I'm sleeping on couch cushions on the floor. But so what happens is my mom ends up staying in Southern California, but I have to go home. I have to go home because I'm run my mom's business. So I take my mom's car back. I leave my mom in Southern California, knowing that in 2 or 3 days I'm gonna have to drive back to Southern California to get her. So I drive back to. So this is the day. This is the day that they're gonna launch, right? Like that I have to be ready to go. So I make the drive back to Southern California. I don't go to work. I just go home and I relax. But like, so so basically starting around, the thing is Target just simply will say, okay, we're going to have PlayStation 5s on this date. Okay. And of course, with it being launch night, everyone knows that they're going to have them. And at the time I was following a website that actually knew the stock of the amount of PlayStations that was. So I knew that my local Target was going to have like 30 of them. So I get online a couple of hours before I'm ready to go, and I make sure that I know my Target login. I make sure that I have all my passwords reset and I know how to get in. So that way I'm not encountered by any reset password kind of situations, because it's one of those passwords that I don't ever remember.
Yeah.
So I go in, and then around 8 p.m. I start refreshing, and I'm refreshing every second for 2 hours. Literally, like I'm sitting at my computer pressing refresh for 2 hours, and at 10 p.m. they dropped, and I got it in my cart, and my cart glitched a couple of times. But it pushed the purchase through, and I got the confirmation. Number. And then like I had to wait. Basically, essentially what happened was I had to wait for the purchase to be like technically fulfilled and completed, and like that it was going to be waiting for me. But that wouldn't happen naturally. That wouldn't happen until a couple of hours before the stores opened.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time sleeping that night. So I'm tired from all the driving. I'm tired because I'm like emotionally tired because of my grandpa. I'm physically tired from all the driving and not sleep that I'm getting. And once again, I'm not getting any sleep that night because it was super intense night. Like I could not believe that I had one, and I didn't believe. And like I said, I wasn't going to believe that I was going to have one until we got in, until I got it. And then I woke up before I had to go to work, and I drove into town, picked it up, and I was like, okay, here it is. And honestly, like I did not have that Taiju moment. I was just relieved.
Oh man.
I was relieved, and I was tired, and I was just like, okay, here's my PlayStation 5.
That's understandable then.
Yeah.
I was hoping though, like those moments, man. But
Yeah.
hey, I'm hoping everything, I'm sorry you went through all that.
You know
Man,
what? It's fine. It's everything like it was all. Yeah. I mean, despite the circumstances,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. So what else do you want to talk about? I feel like do you have any more?
I guess that's I guess where like the reason why you hear about a game well before it's going to release is usually to keep the hype train going. You know, one of the things would be like Gears of War 2 to 3. Gears of War 2 on the drop was actually pretty dope, but it was nowhere near the release of Gears of War 1 in terms of the hype. Gears 2 was fun, people play it online, but it was constantly compared to Gears 1, with its new mechanics and how it felt and stuff like that. In fact, the best thing about Gears 2, in my opinion, would be the fact that they paired with Marvel to make a storyline. And that storyline was absolutely epic. It has some.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, actually, if you bought the deluxe game, you actually got this little comic book artwork thing that was pretty much one particular really good scene that you could definitely tell some type of movie like studio was really working on this. And I say that because like it's the speech when the commander's like just telling everybody, hey, we're going down to fight the Locust. It's like this epic speech, everybody's getting ready, and everything that happens after there, it's just dark, it's good. Like the storyline was great. Gameplay people always had a complaint,
Of course.
So when Gears 3 was coming out, it was like, there was hype for it, but then there were other games that were surrounding it. Like Skyrim was coming out, Dark Souls was coming out, and that was being highly anticipated after the Demon Souls just blow up. Everybody's looking towards different Halos that we're getting more into the competitive scene. MLG was becoming a bigger thing, And so for Gears 3, though, it's like it's hyped, but it's not getting near as much hype because it's surrounded by all these good things. Oblivion had blown up, and everyone's waiting for Skyrim and Dragons and stuff. So what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Here's what you do. You release. You talk about Gears 3. You don't do anything else for it, right? You don't give any more info about it. Then you partner with People Can Fly, and you'll make a game called Bulletstorm. And it's a $60 game that you buy, but wait, if you buy Bulletstorm, you also get a free pass to the beta of Gears 3, and people who like play, you could play that for like 2 months in the beta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I, like so many other fools, bought a $65 game, $64.73, bought a game called Bulletstorm, which was not as great as it should have been, although it was great afterwards. When it was a $5 game later on in life and I got to play, it was great. But it was not that great, but no one cared about it. We played it because we bought it. But all of us were just anticipating the drop date for that beta, and then we went and played it. Bulletstorm. That's it.
Is this it?
That's Bulletstorm. It's got oh gosh, I can't even think of his name. He does a Cowboy Bebop. He's Spike Spiegel. He's is it Stephen Bloom? I don't remember the voice actor, but either way. So, but like there were just all these like
actually looks
really
pretty sick. Like
okay, so it's a co-op based shooter in a time where we were all about multiplayer, right?
Sure.
When a time we were all about co-op or competitive. So playing it later in life, and I'm talking like 2013, 2014. I just proposed to my wife, and some friends were like, Bulletstorm. I was like, hey, I still own that, and they're like, we're gonna go buy it. It's $5 at GameStop. I was like, that hurts. But we went and played it, and actually it was really, really fun. Mm-hmm. It was just the wrong time. But what I'm saying is people played Gears 3, and even though it was a little too fast-paced, it's like, this is way different. And, of course, then Judgment came out later. My thing is, the hype train kept going with other releases, with their pairings, with People Can Fly and stuff like that. So Cyberpunk 2077, to me, kind of hit the same thing. Like, that's really great. And then they put a focus on the Witcher series, and Witcher 2 did really well. And then Witcher 3 did fantastic, But the whole time, while you have people playing these, you're like, oh, this is pretty great. But everyone's focus was on something that, to them, they were like, oh, yeah, I'm just waiting for the masterpiece,
Sure.
That's why. And I hate that tactic, because they're not the only ones to do that stuff. Kingdom Hearts would be the same thing. You never hear anything about it from Squeenix or anything like that, until they need a filler game, until they need something to bridge the gap and continue revenue because of some other failed projects, Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Kingdom Hearts, and then you start starting your own conspiracies, like, oh, it was released on the 13th year of the 47th day, and if you do the numbers out, like, yeah, dude, so that's why, and that's my answer to that. The reason why you start the hype train, because right out the gate, it's not going to be near as great as your concept,
Mm-hmm.
And so you need that hype to boost other games that you're making to get more revenue, so that you might be able to meet 70%. That's my point to
like it. I can understand that for sure. It's still is frustrating though, like starting the hype too soon.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
I think I guess the terminology now, it should be called cyberpunked. A game getting cyberpunked. Or Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 3'd. Because I guess, like, in a way, it started with like Kingdom Hearts. Like, I mean, the truth of the matter is, like, sure, the wait between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 was really long, but technically they didn't announce that it was in development until like 6 years before.
No, they would just wet the whistle. They would just, they would bring it up. Like, obviously we still have our eyes on it. We're not saying anything one way or the other. It was a great franchise, though. It was a great thing that we made, and we would love to get all these things back together. And then they just leave it there. It's like, well, that sounds very positive. That sounds like you have something in the back pocket.
One thing that I always did appreciate from Square Enix, though, was they said, hey, look, okay, sure, this game is in development, but it's not going into full development until after Final Fantasy 15 is released.
It's fair.
That's what they said.
I mean, Squeenix was already bad about this with releasing like a 7.5 minute like cinematic Final Fantasy VII back in I think 2008, 2009.
Oh yeah,
Like
that was pretty bad too.
well before
Yeah.
the Final Fantasy VII release back in 2014. The Final Fantasy VII, hey, we're actually going to do this. Like they paired it with Final Fantasy 15. One of my favorite E3s whenever Xbox, because I've always said this from 2012 to like 2016, E3 Xbox is always a leg or two below Sony because they don't have the exclusives and they usually mess up in some way or another, some type of release that just goes horrendous versus Sony and Squeenix, who just has this consistent rise, right? And I want to say it was 2014. I'd have to go look at the year, but either way, because Xbox was pulling out all the stops, it all looked good, right? I was like, they haven't messed up yet. This is doing great. What's going to happen? It's not even Squeenix Day. It's the end of the first day, and like all the lights go off, and suddenly you hear the da, 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 and it's like, what? And then you see the comet. And you see the Final Fantasy VII logo, nothing else. They showed nothing else. They literally had a man talking about stuff. You saw a very vague, like, could be tribal wolves in the distance, cough, cough, red 13. And you're just like, what is this? And then you just see the logo. And it's like, son of a. They win. They won one day, like 4 minutes. They win the entire day. They didn't even, like, showcase that day. I'm sorry, but I love what they did with that, but I will never forget that I'd already seen gameplay from y'all. Y'all put out a teaser of what the first mission would look like with 3D mechanics, like upgrading Final Fantasy VII to what we knew now from Final Fantasy X and X-2 and 12, Sure. And it was like, wow, why do y'all just have that in the back pocket? Had everyone buzzing. Why is this happening? Why are we seeing this? Are we seeing this because you're going to release this? Silence. I'm sorry, man. Like, no, they're by and far not the worst peoples, but Squeenix does that.
I got it. This is totally off topic, but I got to say something about Microsoft and Xbox. They are messing up. Okay, they're messing up. Okay, all right. They're making all these big power moves, right? They purchase ZeniMax / Bethesda. Okay, all right. So okay, fine. I think Bethesda needed that. I think they needed they needed the finances, but the problem is Microsoft isn't giving them the finances. One of the big issues that I also read about Starfield is that their engine sucks. Okay, their engine sucks. What they need to do is they need to stop. They need to stop using whatever this stupid creative engine is. Okay, and they just need to use Unreal. Okay, Unreal is it. All right,
let's make it happen.
Unreal is it. Put it in Unreal. Stop with this. Look, I get it. You want to use your in-house engine, but like if your in-house engine sucks, then what's the point? Okay, so I digress. No. So okay. Now, don't get me wrong. They're making all these other moves. They've got all under the ZeniMax umbrella. There's a lot of other studios. They essentially own like Doom. They own the Doom games, I think now.
I mean, that came with Bethesda and stuff. Yeah.
So they have, so they're making moves there, but we still have yet to see any like exclusives, right? So the first exclusive for Starfield, the first exclusive from Bethesda for Microsoft is Starfield, and it was delayed because of issues. Now, the next thing, okay, so they bought Activision Blizzard. Activision Blizzard is I'm surprised that. Okay, right, yeah. So it's like this weird situation where it's just kind of like they're the people who decided to touch it with a 10-foot pole, right? And honestly, they're still in the news regularly. It's been a while.
Okay, but they've still got a. Okay, so here's the problem with that, is that it's kind of like, I don't really have much of a comparison, so I won't try here. But no. Let's go with that. So it's kind of like the Amber Heard stuff going on right now. Like, everybody's saying that she's no. Everyone's saying she's a horrible person, stuff like that, because of all the allegations, one way or the other. We're not trying to say political here. I'm just saying that she seems like a pretty bad person. By extent, also Johnny Depp for the last 5 years has had his name run through the mud, and yet everyone still watches Pirates of the Caribbean, especially the older stuff from Johnny Depp, and everyone still gave Aquaman a pretty good review and still kind of buys the merch, from Mira.
Sure.
I say that just to point out that just because you're a bad person doesn't mean your fan base dwindles. Like, oh, that's horrible. Anyways, that was a pretty
No.
good Grindelwald, like. So
Yeah.
people are still playing Blizzard games. Everyone's still hyped for the new Diablo going to come out
Sure. Me
eventually.
too. I'm looking
Everyone's
forward to
still
Diablo
even
4.
even after. Yeah, yes, my wife is. She bit into Diablo 3 like it was a freaking like the perfect pizza coming out, and she has not let up since. She bought the Diablo 2 remake. She bought or remaster. She wants Diablo 4. What I'm saying is like people still bought those things. Diablo 2 came out around the time, I think it was just after we heard about what is this? They're doing some pretty bad, shady, horrible, and horrendous things, but people still bought it, and it was still a really big deal. Like really big deal. People are still playing the game and supporting them is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're bad or not.
I'm not denying that. What I am saying though is that like they're still not really doing anything with it. Like
Why would they? They literally bought them at a time where no one's going to mess them. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but they bought them at a time where no one's really messing with them. But they are still one of the biggest producers out there with one of the bigger fan bases, still making top 5 money. My thing is, I buy them out and I make money off it. Literally, by buying out Bethesda and what was it, Cinemax?
Oh, ZeniMax.
And Activision, ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard. Not just any of the other patents they bought, because we went over that in one of our old podcasts. Not just the other things they bought, but just those two alone are funding Game Pass. Literally, it opens the door for them to be like, oh, hey, the new Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out. Guess what? It's free for everybody free if you pay for the Game Pass. My thing is, they're doing all the right moves monetarily, but I will say the Sony buy on Bungie, to me, was arguably move. That is a power move. At first, I was like, I don't know, because I'm looking at it from the money aspect. But no, because Sony's already said they're just going to be sharing their stuff with them. They're going to be sharing their stuff with Sony, and things are going to change from there. And we're not seeing a lot of that with Microsoft right now. Right now, Microsoft's just buying them out, do your thing, but you're your own island, make us money. And Sony's like, here's what we've got, and what do you have?
And that is the thing, right? And I don't think, and the problem is Xbox will never, I honestly think that, okay, fine, Xbox might technically be worth more. They might be the big money maker, especially now with like Activision Blizzard is going to soon be their cash cow. Okay. Because like, it really is. They're not, it's a quality, or it's a quantity over quality company. Okay. That is more or less their business model, is like pump out games that everyone will play all the time. Okay.
I mean, that was what it was supposed to be. We just kind of discussed the aesthetics falls of that. But PS4 was the quality, and Xbox was more the quantity, and not just quantity in what they produced, but you also went to Xbox for the party games, in my opinion.
And this, and honestly, the truth of the matter is, Sony in my opinion, hey, Wellington, Basler, thanks for stopping by.
What's up?
I probably butchered your name. I apologize. So here's the truth of the matter. Okay. Sony, I think, needs to stick with their quality over quantity model. And they need to, I think that if they do end up delaying, thank you. If they do end up delaying God of War Ragnarok, I think it would be a good move. And honestly, if that's what they need to do to make it functional on a day one PlayStation 4, then so be it. But I do think that that they should just be like, they should just come out and announce and be like, look, this isn't working. This isn't the way that we want it to work. If this is the case, right? Let's say that this is the case, hypothetically. They should come out and just say, look, this isn't working the way that we want it to work. It can't be supported on the PlayStation 4. It's gonna be exclusive for PlayStation 5. And honestly, I'm hoping that Insomniac announces that for Spider-Man 2. Because I'm tired of my PlayStation 5 being a PlayStation 4 Pro.
I mean, and I know that's your opinion. We've had the conversation. Well, I do agree with it being with games being open to the older consoles. I do agree that some of the more aesthetically beautiful or quality games that you are going to want to play on the best, like,
Mm-hmm.
best graphics, the fastest and stuff like that. That should be a next gen thing, and God of War definitely meets that.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of add on to something you had just stated about, like, if they're just open about, hey, we need to switch to the PS5, the Xbox Series. Actually, my thing is developers could change the game if they just had full transparency on the development itself.
Mm-hmm.
Cyberpunk, honestly, one of the things that I've continued to bring up is that if they would have just been open with that, like, hey, so we've been
Yeah.
doing so much with this game that now
Mm-hmm.
if you're not on next gen, it's causing some issues on the old gen. We
Yeah.
can release it right now the way it is if y'all really want it, but we're going to tell you right now there's some issues on older gen. But because of the changes we've tried to do to meet the expectations and the pace of progress, we have now put enough stuff in to make it a next gen game. So we're waiting for that. But we'll let the viewers decide. We'll let the viewers, the consumers decide. Do y'all want it released now with some bugs we're going to have to try and fix? Or would you like it as a next gen game? If you at least give us the choices and be open, transparent, you're still going to have people
Yeah.
upset.
That's
But you would
a
have
good
had
idea.
people respect. You would have had people's respect. Like, you know what? I
At
just
least they're being
appreciate the
honest.
honesty.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you know what? Just wait for the next gen. We'll see if we can get a console. Then they could have taken all the time they want. Then we could have hit the situation of we don't have enough consoles for everybody because the scalpers and stuff like that. And they could have been like, hey, we're going to start backtracking the game a bit. Maybe pulling some features so that it can play on all systems.
Mm-hmm.
That it would have delayed it. But I guarantee you that when it released, even if it had the same issues, it would have been like, hey, they tried.
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame it. That's my take on it. I just think
Yeah.
open and effective communication with your consumer base will change all of this.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are now we're just over an hour. It's probably time to wrap things up. All right, Jeremiah, give us some final thoughts on whatever you wanted to final thoughts on, and then also tell us where we can find you at.
So, Red Dead Redemption 2 has to be the best game ever released. And I know Brent would be on my side when I say this. So, anyone watching, anyone here, he loves memes about it. Send your favorite clips about it. No, but seriously, like, I really enjoyed this talk because I feel like it's also in itself an extent from a talk that we had previously about the next gen versus old gen. And I did kind of want to get that. I was like, you know what? I did think about it a little bit, and it's pretty much the points that we brought up here. It's like, I am okay with these games being delayed, and I'm also okay with them saying, this is next gen. If you want to play it at its best, play it next gen because you're not going to have a good time on old gen, and just be open. It was a good time. Thanks for having me on, though, man. I appreciate it.
All right, tell them where they can find you. Tell people.
Oh, come on. We're DLC, Dude Let's Chat. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms on Dude Let's Chat, Instagram on Dude Let's Chat, and then also on Twitter at Dude Let's Chat Pod, I believe. But yeah, you can catch us there.
They are linked in the description of this video. I had that pre-set up.
And YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. Although we might be moving to different platforms thanks to this collab here, because I'm really liking the setup and the system. I want to talk to you more about it.
Yeah, let me know, because if I refer a friend, I get $10.
Hey, I'm always down to put money in the pockets of the good people of this world. Let's freaking go. But thank you so much for having us, and come give us a like if you like.
Yeah, and as always, Jeremiah, I love our conversations. I'm sure that I would not be surprised if after this podcast is over, if we talk for another hour. If you want to do that, we can switch over to Discord. Anyways, guys, I know that we did have some viewers in this on occasion. I appreciate anybody who did come by. Thank you. If you want to see more, I do these live streams every Thursday, usually after Dude Let's Chat's podcast, simply because I don't want to compete with them, and I would like having them on. So hopefully, I usually like to have them on regularly because they're great conversation. But yeah, so but it's usually sometime in the evening at night on Thursdays. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing, and we will see you all next week. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Peace.